9 years of dubbed content and about 13 years of subtitle content of continuous watching.
Entertainment is fundamental, global and local at the same time.
Something like 6,600 series, episodicals, that are being recorded right now across the globe.
And welcome everyone to Slater Pot 102. Hello, Esther.
Hey, Florian, how's it going?
All good. Today we are going to Stockholm to talk to Björn Livergren, Executive Chairman of LinkQ Media, a new media localization startup. And of course, Björn, a lifer in media localization, founder and CEO, former CEO of BTI Studios, now, of course, part of the big Ayuno juggernaut. And we'll talk all things media localization, dubbing, subtitling, streaming, Netflix, everything. So, cool. Looking forward to this. So, have you registered for SlaterCon Remote, Esther?
Yes, I have, of course.
That's good. Did you get a free ticket? No. Absolutely. So we are open for registration, not just the team, but for everyone. Registrations are coming in, so do join. If you register for the whole conference, you're going to get to enjoy the Australia leg as well. If you want to get up early in Europe, or I don't know, that probably is kind of maybe from California, you could actually still join the Australia one. So we're doing Australia, like Asia Pac. We're doing the European and America's leg as well. So that's going to be a great conference. Lots to do for Andrew and Deppy to get this off the ground. I'll just cruise in and give a presentation. What's the agenda today? We are going to talk about super agency litigation. Then we're going to talk about Netflix and how much they dub and sub. We're going to talk about a hack in subtitling. And then something, I don't know why we put this on the agenda, but Meta supercomputer for NLP.
All right.
We could probably talk like 30 seconds about this, and then I'm out of my depth. So, super agents litigation, just briefly, what's going on? This is kind of this whole Lionbridge TransPerfect saga. TransPerfect sued Lionbridge back in 2019 over a trade secret case. What trade secret case? Well, if we all remember, let's do a brief recap. Phil Shaw won the 2017 auction for like 770 million for basically having the right to buy half of the company he didn't already own from TransPerfect. It was this whole backstory, go back and read the articles with the co-founder, etc. So when TransPerfect was put up for auction, itself quite an unusual process. Never heard that before, and haven't heard it since. When it was put up for auction, one of the bidders that got into the final stages was Lionbridge, or rather their owner, like HIG. So, right, Lionbridge buying TransPerfect potentially. And then once the whole thing was over and Phil Shaw, owned the full business, he got some financing for that. He acquired the whole business. Then TransPerfect sued Lionbridge and alleged that their owner, HHG Capital, obtained trade secrets under false pretenses. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole legal nitty-gritty. It's just, it's difficult. I mean, you can actually probably download the entire lawsuit and the judge's decision. Anyway, so TransPerfect alleged that the trade references there, what they're talking about, were pricing and revenue information for Merck and IQVIA. So how much revenue they're making with Merck and IQVIA, and kind of the pricing information. Obviously, IQVIA, major CRO, I think probably the biggest CRO, right? So one of the bigger buyers of translation out there. And so long story short, now a U.S. district court in the Southern District of New York, where, I don't know, everything is being litigated. This is like the court that all these business cases get litigated in. They ruled that TransPerfect failed to prove that HIG stole trade secrets or that TransPerfect had been damaged as a result. Again, we're not going to go into detail, but long story short, for now, good day for John Fennelly and not so great day for the TransPerfect side of things. So apparently that TransPerfect said that the company will appeal the summary judgment. I don't know where they're going to appeal it to, from like the Southern District of New York court. I don't know what's the next layer there, but apparently they're going to appeal. But for now, a win for Lionbridge. And we're still gathering comments by the time that we're recording this. So probably we're going to have a story on the website by the time this is out. So go head over if that's what you want to read about. It's not highly industry relevant in a sense, but it's two of the biggest. I mean, it's not like it is relevant, but it's like a side battle.
Meta. Yeah. Yeah.
It's meta. There you go. Nice segue. But let's go first to Netflix. What did the Netflix CEO share in an earnings call?
Yeah, so super interesting data points coming out of Netflix's Q4 2021 earnings call. That was just a couple of days ago on January the 20th. Their COO, Greg Peters, who is also the Chief Product Officer, revealed the number of runtime minutes that the company had subtitled and dubbed in 2021. So huge numbers. Netflix subtitled 7 million runtime minutes. And they dubbed 5 million runtime minutes. So incredible volumes coming out of Netflix. And also they were discussing a little bit about the scale and the challenge of that operation. So Peters said, at that scale, we're learning how to make localization more compelling to our members. So obviously it's not just scale that is the challenge, but it's everything around, the emotion of subtitling, dubbing, and the craft, and trying to get that right as well at scale. And then also the co-CEO of Netflix shared some comments about localization, Ted Sarandos. He said, many of those places where we built that out, I think that being localization, subtitling, dubbing, he said there was zero infrastructure for subtitling and dubbing. So talking about certain territories there being essentially, nothing in place already. He said none of the territories were easy to build up, but he actually put a bit of a positive spin on that, saying it's good because then, I guess people internally and potentially externally understand that it is a challenge and exactly what's involved in getting something like this off the ground. He also said entertainment is fundamental, global and local at the same time. So you can read the full coverage of that on slater.com. And also, I think we're going to hear what Björn has to say about the scale and also the growth in sub and dubbed content from Netflix a bit later.
So let's do the math, Esther.
Yeah.
So let's do the math here.
Dear.
And
yeah.
I'm doing it like publicly. I got to figure it. I just want to do it. So it's 5 million minutes.
Yes.
Right? Divided by 60. So it's, hang on, 5 million minutes divided by 60. So 83,000 hours.
Yeah, I was going to go for 8 something. Okay.
Let's say 83,000 hours.
Of runtime. Yeah.
Then, so that's, no, just let's not end there. 83,000
you want to do it in days?
Divided by 24, so that's 3,000 days divided by 300. So it's 9 years. It's 9 years of dubbed content and about 13 years of subtitle content of continuous watching. You cannot do that.
That'll keep us occupied during the pandemic.
That will no. Please, not another 13 years of pandemic. I need Freedom Day now. So, okay, Netflix data point. But on another note, also talking about millions of, but not minutes, but users. What's going on there?
And a less happy affair.
Not great.
There was a bit of a cybersecurity debacle that was reported also in mid-January. There's a platform website called opensubtitles.org, which is essentially a massive multi-language subtitle database that's available online. They announced, unfortunately, that a hacker had gained access to the personal data of around 7 million users, and that had happened. The breach had happened in August of last year, so a while back. The hacker had stolen details including email, IP address, usernames, and also passwords. So that's quite an unfortunate turn of events. Basically how the site works is that users can upload or download subtitles, so making them available to others. You're not required to register for the site, but if you do register, it's free and it gives you access to more advanced search functions, and you can post comments on forums, things like that. And then there's also a paid version, which I think costs around €10 a year. And that is an ad-free version that has higher download limits. I've heard, people talk. I've never used it, but I've heard people talk about it quite a lot as an interesting repository for subtitle content, particularly where a show that you want to watch doesn't have subtitles in your language. You can go and download it and watch it that way. So what actually happened was that one of the accounts of a super admin was apparently hacked, and the hackers gained access to an unsecured script that was only supposed to be available to the super admins of Open Subtitles. There was then a ransom demand made to Open Subtitles, and the hackers said that they would delete their copy of the personal information of users if they paid the ransom. It's not quite clear whether the ransom was paid or not. I think there were reports that it was and then reports that it wasn't. But in either case, the hacker leaked the data in mid-January, and then members were told about the breach a few days later. And apparently it's all to do with not that you can necessarily blame users for their level of password security, but I think it's more to do with the requirements around passwords and sort of practices around passwords on the site not being kind of super up to date.
It looks like when you're on the site, no disrespect, but a quick refresh would be in order as well.
Well, I mean, I think that's what they're planning. It's open source, right, or like an open forum. It was created in 2006, but I think now they plan to beef up their password security, their practices, encourage users to reset their passwords, have a password manager, and they're also planning to move to a new domain. So they're trying to, prevent that from happening again.
Yeah, in the meantime, you can download. What can you download? The Book of Boba Fett, Power Book Ghost. It's number 2. Ozark. It's number 4. Yeah, there you go. You can download
in
Ozark.
Lots of different languages. Yeah,
lots of different languages. I mean, the subtitles to Ozark.
The subtitles, yeah.
Yep. So, closing on Meta, also known as Facebook. Maybe, I don't know, in 2023, are we going to call it Meta without like tongue in cheek or like?
Let's see.
Okay, so Meta unveiled a supercomputer that, among other things, will power translation in the metaverse. And now you might tell me, Esther, that sounds like a clickbaity title, and I will tell you, no. This is not a clickbaity title. This is exactly what's going on, because Meta has they're basically building a new a giant supercomputer. Have a look. It's on YouTube. You actually see them walking around. And apparently this wonder of technology is capable of quintillions of operations per second. Quintillions.
You're going to calculate how many in a year.
That's decadillions. No. So anyway, what's the point of having the supercomputer? One of the first use cases they said that would be natural language processing and computer vision. And they said that on the natural processing side, our researchers will be able to train the largest models needed to develop advanced AI for computer vision, NLP, speech recognition, and more. This includes working across hundreds of languages, as well as seamlessly analyzing text, images, and video together. Hundreds of languages, right? And
great.
Here's the kicker. One of the potential future use cases includes powering, and now I'm quoting, real-time voice translations to large groups of people, each speaking a different language, so they can seamlessly collaborate on a research project or play an AR game together. Right? Remember the meeting thing with the avatars without the legs? Did you see that?
Yes.
When they launched, right? So now, you get the seamless collaboration and translation. Maybe you're also going to get the legs. So For this, you need a quintillion operations per second. I don't know. It sounds quite corporate marketing PR-y, but I mean, if you're, putting a monster of a computer online, who knows? Maybe it'll help. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the challenge of challenges. Like you're in an AR or VR environment. People speak all kinds of different languages, and you want to enable seamless collaboration. That's kind of holy grail-ish, 5-10 years down the line-ish. So we'll just leave that here for you. Now we're going into media localization with Björn, executive chairman of Link Media Group. So catch you on the other side. And welcome back, everyone. Today, we're back with Björn Livergren, Executive Chairman of LinkQ Media. Hi, Björn.
Hello.
So, where does this podcast find you today? What city, country?
Stockholm, at our headquarters in Stockholm. I've managed to come back into the office here now. Most people are still working from home, but it's me and a couple of the others on site here today.
So not yet Freedom Day like in Copenhagen?
Not yet Freedom Day like Copenhagen. No, not yet.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. So, Björn, last time we met in person was I think at our conference here in Zurich. Feels like 580 years ago. But, you've been super busy since then. So just before we get started with the company and what you're doing right now, I mean, you've been in the media localization industry for quite some time. So just tell us a bit more about your professional background, like your background in the media lock industry and where you are today.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I came into this and I would say my work life is synonymous with the media localization industry. I started as a video editor, adding subtitles to master tapes. That was my first job, and I was 21 years old, something like that. After a few years, my boss died, and I started working on taking over parts of the company. Back then, we were still, like I said, adding the subtitles to master tapes. I remember we were doing Bold and the Beautiful, and we were doing 2 episodes per day. But after a while, I took over the company. I moved it into Stockholm. We were a one client company, and I started transforming the company. I had some ambitions. I was 25 years old. And I wanted to develop the company. I wanted to become an international company and to really grow that. And that's been my driving force ever since. I said, what's around the next corner? After a few years, we were picked up by SBS Broadcasting, a large organization that had broadcasting units in I think 7 or 8 different countries. We sat with them for, I'd say, better part of 7 or 8 years until they were acquired by private equity. They were acquired by KKR and Permira. And after that, a couple of years with them, a lot of the larger subtitling and dubbing and localization companies started to zoom around us. I didn't like that idea. I wanted to continue to grow. I mean, we've grown from $300,000 in a basement until when I sold the company, we were 125 million euros. So I wanted
That's quite a journey.
Yeah, it was an amazing journey, but it could have stopped already back in 2008 if we hadn't done kind of an MBO together with Valedo, and I'm really thankful for that.
Wow. So, yeah, we'll get to your new venture, Link Media. So that was the BTI. We had you at our conference originally there in 2018 still on the BTI side, and then
still on the BTI side, yes, definitely.
Still on the BTI side, and there's so much that has happened even since then, right? And we've all went like almost 100% streaming, etc. So we'll talk about Link in a second. Now we just picked up on on an amazing data point in a Netflix earnings call that I just want to run by you. It's quite kind of new. So their CEO disclosed that they subtitled 7 million and dubbed 5 million runtime minutes in 2021. Sounds like a lot to me, but what does it sound to you?
It's enormous volumes. I would say that probably has increased with almost, I'd say 50 to 75% since I left the business in 2019. So in those
Wow.
2 years, 2.5 years, they've increased the volumes enormously. And of
That's
course,
amazing.
with that comes a lot of problems in their end, and in of course in capacity and at all of their vendors today.
Of which you're one of them.
Yes, we're not working directly
There's
yet.
a lot of interesting stats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Not
we see that they are dealing with things slightly differently at Netflix today, and we like that. They are, I mean, if you look at all the non-English content that's on the market, coming onto the market, that I think a lot of that is thanks to Netflix. That people are starting to subtitle not only from American shows into local languages, but also all these vast volumes that's coming through. And I think right now we're in a position where basically in 2019, 2020, 2021, there was very limited, at least 2020 and 2021, very limited production happening. So people started dipping into the archives. And of course, a lot of the archives have not been translated into 28, 30 languages. It's never been dubbed in a lot of languages, and I think that's what's happening right now. In 2021, these volumes have been subtitled and dubbed. But another interesting data point I got during the year was that right now there's not any time where there's been more productions going. I heard something like 6,600 series, episodicals, that are being recorded right now across the globe.
Wow. That's some great data points there. I mean, we heard a lot, I think, in 2020, 2021 also about this kind of back catalogue and archive content helping to fill a lot of the media localization pipelines. And then great, to hear both anecdotally from people and also, in those hard stats about new productions resuming. But I mean, let's come back to your part in that. And tell us about what it is that you're doing at Link Media Group. Also, your route to founding the company when you with your former colleagues from BTI. Also,
of course, I mean, after leaving BTI's board in 2019, in I think it was March or April, I worked a lot for private equity, which is interesting. I worked on a few interesting deals in the localization sector. But it's not the same thing being a consultant, being inside on an M&A thing as doing your own company. I missed it. I missed it a lot. And after finding that I can do a lot of the things I used to do remotely, I don't have to travel 150 days a year. So I got talking to two of my former colleagues. I mean, after I left BTI, most of the management, within 2 years, most of the senior management were gone. And I have a possibility of picking them up. That was kind of one of the things. The other thing was, of course, the consolidation in the market. That the larger companies consolidated first. BTI consolidated with Ayuno, then Ayuno consolidated with SDI. That kind of was the starting point for me to start to think. I mean, maybe there's a room for us. Maybe there's a room for a small, easier to maneuver company that won't be able to do everything, but we can do certain things, and we can do high quality, and we can do maybe the more upper end of the scope. So that was the starting point, and then me and two of the other guys from the BTI era, we set out. We started our office. We moved into our building here in Stockholm on Kungsholmen in I think it was 15th of April last year, and it has been an amazing year.
But when you start, like just from scratch, basically, new brand, new team, new everything, like where do you focus? And especially in a space that is, at least in my view, a little more asset heavy, right? When dubbing and subtitling, it's not like you just start and flip open your notebook and start translating for like a legal contract on I don't know, on Trados or MemoQ. Yeah. Like, how do you decide what to do? Where do you kind of put in your initial client wins and things like that?
Well, I mean, of course, we came from this industry. We've been working in this industry. I had 25 years in this industry. Our CEO here, Lennart Löf, he has almost 30 years in the industry. So, of course, we have a lot of clients that were coming to us and actually asking us, because there is a lot of clients on this market today that miss what BTI stood for. They miss the personal relationships, and a lot of this in this industry is still personal relationships. Whether other companies don't realize that or not. So we came into this with kind of an opportunity to say, hey, we'll pick up resources in the Nordic countries first, which we managed to do now. We saw that there's a massive demand for Nordic subtitling today. And we've actually been able to offer subtitlers decent prices. We also haven't launched our MT services yet, which means that we are one of the few people on this market that can offer subtitles to work in a more old-fashioned way in one respect, working with English master templates or working actually even directly from scratch. And a lot of the subtitles, they really like that. So I think that could be a way for us to retain more assets.
It's like a boutique approach. So that's an interesting one. So you're telling me that one of the differentiators is that you're not using MT and you're allowing the subtitles to be a bit more crafty or original, or
yes, I mean they really enjoy that. But of course, I mean we understand that we can't go on like that forever, but we need to take in another angle. But I think that's something that's been very successful early on in our life. So definitely.
Got it.
So you mentioned, when you left BTI, you then were working with a little bit in private equity, kind of getting involved on that side. And you could have quite easily continued, I'm sure, on the consultant route or done a raft of other things. So yeah. I'm wondering why, apart from missing the game, why is it you wanted to start all over again from scratch in this industry?
Yes, I've asked myself that a few times.
Yeah.
Well, I think I just want to see what's around the next corner. For me, I mean, money has never been a driving point for me. I could have stopped working a long time ago if it was just for the money. But I want to see what's around the next corner, what's around the next bend. And I love media localization. It's nothing like it.
Mm.
Indeed.
Yeah. And then so you said that you'd already set up in the Nordics and started attracting talent there. Yeah. What's your current geographic market focus now, and where do you plan to go beyond the Nordics?
Absolutely. I mean, we have now full-time employees hired by Link Media in the entire Nordics. So we have two people in Oslo. We have people in around Norway. We have people in Helsinki. Our first employee started now in January. The second is starting in March. So all in all, we have about 14 employees right now in the group. Out of those, 7 or 8 is located here at the Stockholm office. So we will have a Nordic approach, but we've also hired now 2 people in the UK, one that started January 1st. So we'll start with, I mean, a lot of our clients are based in the UK. A lot of the international broadcasters, and there's not been one broadcaster that I work with during the BTI years that hasn't been in contact with us yet. And I'm surprised to see how many they are. And I think what's happening right now is that a lot of the companies, that established companies, they've seen this surge in volume too, and they've taken the opportunity to go out and see that, hey, we have to pay our resources more, hence we need to increase the pricing. So I think there's actually the kind of crunch on pricing that was in the years of 2015 to 2018. That's no more. Right now, there is a kind of a big development in pricing, driven and really fairly so by the subtitles.
So you mentioned the Nordics, and now you're going, I mean, basically also where the clients are, right? But I mean, if you expanded into another region out of the Nordics, which one would it be? Which one is kind of the lowest hanging fruit? And then which will be the hardest one? Let's take those two extremes.
Yeah. I mean, so far yet, we are basically doing subtitling only. We are going to launch our first dubbing studio in 2022. I think that's going to be English language. We're definitely going to go for English language dubbing. We did subtitle last year more than 28 different languages. The clients are, of course, Netflix, Disney, through digital fulfillment companies. We are working a lot with digital fulfillment companies that need subtitling for Netflix assets and Disney assets. I think only a third of the revenues we had last year actually came from the Nordic languages. So if I'd say definitely setting up a dubbing studio somewhere in the US or in the UK, that would probably be a natural step. But we're also aiming to expand into dubbing in the FIGS languages. So English language dubbing studio in 2022, plus one of the other regions. I mean, when I was at BTI, I was head of, after I left the CEO role, I was head of M&A for a few months, and I managed to close 4 deals across the different areas. And during that time, I saw and investigated the markets across the FIGs. So I have a very good position on how the market looks. So it might be that we do an acquisition, or we might also do a startup from scratch. Because I mean, today, if you do an acquisition today, you're probably going to buy something that's already really jam-packed, that doesn't have more capacity. You're not adding new capacity to the market. So I'm playing with the idea of setting something up in Italy or Germany or Spain.
And speaking about adding capacity to the market, I mean, how are things on the talent side at the moment? Especially, you mentioned into English dubbing, for example. How do you go about sourcing these people, retaining them, both on the subtitling and dubbing side? What are you seeing there?
I mean, we've started something we call Link Academy now in January of 2022. So basically, what we want to do is that we want to really add more capacity to the market, new capacity to the market. So we're going to train new subtitles from scratch. We're going to add between 5 to 10 new resources per Nordic language per quarter. So we hope that we, on the freelance capacity, will add between 20 and 40 resources to the market this year.
I just love this view, like when it's a kind of an unusual view that, like, okay, there's so much demand, we need to add capacity, we need to build up. Okay, maybe you could buy something, but they're already busy anyway, so we kind of need to develop this talent from scratch. I think one of your competitors also did something with the university. So I don't know, it's just it's a different way of looking at things for maybe some other verticals in the localization industry, where it's kind of pushing out, and I mean, the capacity is typically there. It's just it's a special market. Sorry for that little side tour there. Question around dubbing, and the kind of dubbing is asset heavy in a sense. I mean, if you're saying you're setting up a dubbing studio, what's your approach there? I mean, is there, like, do you need the physical studio and the whole setup, or are you open to like a cloud approach or a mix of both?
I don't think you can start with cloud approach, to be honest with you. I know that the companies that are doing cloud approach today, I mean, they have large corporations with studios in the different countries. So I definitely go for a mixed, a hybrid model, where you have some of the resources, some of the talent will be recording from home, but you will have somebody overseeing that from a central point. So I don't think you can really do that. It is an investment, but I mean, you can easily build a dubbing studio today for 300-400K. That's not a big thing anymore. I mean, it used to be millions, but setting up a couple of recording rooms today, it's much cheaper than it used to be.
Why is that, though? Why is that? Just
technology advances. Technology has advanced a lot throughout the years, to be honest with you. I know that in some of the larger territories, it still needs to look good. I mean, I don't know how many. We probably spent $1.5 million when we built our dubbing facility, or BTI built their dubbing facility in Paris a few years back. But I mean, today, a lot of that, I mean, can still be remodeled a lot cheaper.
And is it also because, I mean, do you think COVID has an impact because all these materials are in much more demand and there's a lot more production of this? I mean, I don't know, mics and kind of like soundproofing stuff, or no?
No, I think that when it comes to the recording things like that, I think it opened the eyes. I think COVID opened the eyes. The pandemic opened the eyes to some of the larger companies to do remote recording. I mean, one of the bigger ones on the market, that the big giant 500-pound gorilla, they're doing this at scale for a lot of their clients today. So I think that it's opened the market to definitely do this. And of course, I mean it's cheaper. You can still do recordings and such things remotely.
Quick tangent here. Game localization, media localization. We had Katrina on the podcast, kind of an anime, Japanese English translator, localizer, and Sega lock coordinator last week. So I feel there's a bit of a convergence going on between certain parts of the game localization, media localization space. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you see that, or do you feel they're going to remain separate? Kind of, okay, you got the entertainment side and the hardcore gaming side, and there's only some overlap in the middle, or?
No, I think it's quite easy. We see a lot of the larger dominant players on the game localization side have moved towards the media localization side. It's kind of the same kind of technology that's being used. There's one company that has hired a couple of really good employees from former BTI that's doing a lot of game localization usually, but now they're into more media localization. So I think they're tapping into this market more than the other way around. I mean, there's one big dominant player, Keywords, and they're a fantastic company. One thing I like about them is that they let the local companies that they acquire keep their own brands, keep their own identity. I think that's really good.
I think it's interesting you mentioned Keywords. I mean, they've spoken a little bit about, in their view, this kind of convergence between gaming and media as well. And then, you're starting to see Keywords work with the likes of Netflix, and then Netflix also branch out into Netflix games. So yeah, be one to watch, I think.
Definitely. I think Netflix games is up and coming.
They have to do something. How to get all these subscribers back? The stock tanked last week because they didn't grow like.
But I mean, it's quite interesting to see that, because I mean, they did what they said they do. They grew with 8 million subs in the last quarter of last year, and then they tanked about 25-30%. So I still think.
Well,
Please.
You got to exceed expectations instead of meeting them.
That's the thing.
To not be punished.
Probably, yeah. No, but I mean, the stock market has gone up for I don't know how many years, 13 years, 14 years. So it's just, I think it's the valuation they have now. It's more attractive.
Point.
I mean, speaking about stocks and valuations, and obviously given your extensive experience of working with private equity and investors, what, in your view, how do you think language service providers or media localization providers should work with investors?
I know how they shouldn't work.
Okay, we can start there.
Let's stop with that. No, I mean, I had experience from private equity, and I had some really positive experiences, and I had some that were even more negative. I think that the more positive approach I had with Carlyle, they were really, really interesting to work with. I was only reporting into a couple of guys. I had a couple of meetings with them every month. We were growing nicely, fine. They had other investments into the market. If I were today approached by somebody that had other investments in the same segment, in the same industry, I know that they would understand better what we are faced upon. When I was working with some of the others, I won't mention their names, it was more, this is the way we do business. This is the 3-month plan you should adopt. And they really want to turn every stone every time they do something. So one of them was sending me like 2,000 emails in about 6 months. And they really will basically, you will not have any opportunity to breathe or sell. I think that's the main problem. They will ask you to take your resources off the market if something goes pear-shaped. So I'd say I rather see more companies like Carlyle out there, where you have a close relationship with just a few people, than having a full support team.
Very interesting. So you're saying that having a PE firm that actually knows the space, and they all probably say they know the space, right? But that actually has other investments helps, because you don't need to do all the education yourself?
No,
Like the
you
market
don't have to.
education
They
yourself?
can. What they often do is, and that's really a good thing. Of course, they can go out and they can substantiate your data points. You say, hey, this is due to a massive surge in demand. And then they can go out and substantiate that with somebody else, or basically there's nothing new happening on the market. The number of new series being produced right now has gone down dramatically, so they can see that.
And what's your approach now? I mean, are you? I guess you're bootstrapped now, but are you? You mentioned M&A. Maybe if it makes sense, if they're not maxed out already, like tell us a bit more about how you set the company now, how you're funding it for now, and then like if there's any plans to do any M&A or just invest, into those 400K studios.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to do both. I think there will be an investment done in 2022. Or 2022. I mean, we are bootstrapped, but I mean we are three main owners to the company, and I think we will probably keep it that way for some time. But of course, if the right silent partner comes along, I mean, who knows?
Got it.
I mean, thinking sort of longer term. I'm not sure if we can do some crystal ball gazing too far in advance. But just thinking about the evolution, maybe of consumer side of the market. Do you expect will we all be streaming absolutely everything? What are your thoughts on how linear TV and cinema are going to evolve in the next sort of 5-10 years?
I think that there's going to be a need for linear channels. Then, if they are streamed linear channels or not, because I mean, we as I think I have 7 or 8 streaming services at home, but I still find myself turning into the streamed channels. The streamed linear channels really attract me because they do a little bit of everything. That's the thing. I want somebody to pick some of the shows. Of course, I do a lot of the other shows as well. But I mean, I can't even remember which platform did I watch this on, which platform did I watch that on. It's it's hard to keep track on these days. So I think there's a need to have linear channels, definitely. Then if they're going to be streamed or not, that's another thing. I mean, that's another company I still work for now. That's called Nenda. That's basically a business-to-business streaming app, and I'm the chairman of that company, and we're launching that in the business-to-business sector, like hotels, care homes for the elderly, etc. That's a very interesting market.
How do these trends? Okay, so you're saying like we're probably going to have some form of linear TV also in 10 years from now. What about cinemas? And like, is this having any impact on localization or not at all? Like you don't really feel what's the channel where the content's distributed?
Now, to be honest with you, I mean, they have converged so much. If it's a cinematic translation, or if this is for a streaming party, it's basically does have very limited. It's just the final things that we do with the files. It doesn't really have any big impact on how we will deliver that work. Really, no.
And
I think also on the consumer side in 2020, sorry to jump in, Florian, but we saw a lot of releases that were due to come out in the cinema just going straight to the TV. So maybe there is that kind of added blurring.
Of course they need to add new revenue streams as well. So of course, I mean, even if you have, I have the Disney, and of course I always end up paying extra to see something 2 weeks ahead. Although having Disney Plus, but I mean, of course, I always add up paying extra so my kids can watch things early on. I mean, I think that's a model that's here to stay, definitely. There will be more transactional VOD for some of these services.
Disney Plus Plus.
Disney Plus, yes.
Just another thing on the English dubbing. Seems like one of the major pain points for buyers is really getting great access to into English dubbing, because all of this, content like Squid Game down, right? So, are you again like from scratch, or are you sourcing this from scratch, or these actors? And like, just walk us maybe a bit through the flow, the workflow there. So who does the translation? Who acts the dubbing? How does that work?
Well, I mean, if you look at this from on how we would do this, because I mean, we're not doing this today.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, of course we will. I mean, England is an very interesting country when it comes to this, because it's actually voice acting. We need to find actors who can do this in a good way. And England has a lot of small theaters everywhere, so we won't be any room. I mean, what we would do, we go. I mean, find decent, really good translators. I think some of the translations we do today when it comes to dubbing are really good. We are already doing this today. We'll work together with some of the universities. I think that's one of the pain points that's there today. That this is actually really needs to be accurate translations. I think another problem with Squid Game is, and the controversy around that is that it's not supposed to be a direct. Let me rephrase that. Another pain point. I mean, we have a Korean marketing manager, half Korean, half Swedish, here in the office in Stockholm, and you don't understand Korean by just watching this movie. You don't understand the whole Korean culture. If this would have been a book instead, there would have been kind of a reference, and then you need to understand it. You need to go study what's actually being said in there. So you need to get your reference point. And the same thing is for this. If you want to understand everything of the Korean culture, you can't do that just by looking at this movie. So I think it's some of this criticism against the subtitles and the dubs are unfair.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a philosophical decision. Like, if you don't know much about Korea, you're probably not going to get all the references, no matter how good the subs or dubs are, right? So talking about, I mean, speaking of Squid Game is almost a bit future gazing, because it was such an not unexpected, I guess, for insiders, right? But it's something so new. I mean, if somebody had told us 10 years ago that the Korean drama would be like a global phenomenon, basically streamed to everyone's TV, I guess that would have been very unlikely, right? What's your outlook, I don't know, for media lock industry next 2 to 3 years? We can keep it relatively contained there.
Yeah, no, but absolutely. I think we're going to see this strong demand really is here to stay. I think a lot of the big streaming channels, and I mean, everybody is launching their own brands right now. So I think we have 2-3 larger launches per year in front of us. The size of what we're now seeing from Disney and Netflix. So definitely that will be here to stay. And on top of that, I still think the linear channels are also here. They will launch their own services. They will get together. I mean, in France, there's been a kind of a consolidation of a few channels. In Germany, there are channels that's coming together to be able to survive. So they will kind of be the counterparty to Netflix and the other streaming giants.
So good days ahead, and good times for startups.
Absolutely.
Like yours. Yeah. Well, Björn, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, and thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks.